Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Dope. My name is Kyle. Thank you for checking this out. This is a different episode today in that I intend for it to be very straightforward and to the point. Maybe I'll just one long take, okay? Minimal editing. This is Friday morning. I've been meaning to record this episode since probably Monday night. We're talking about Manga Chapter 92, the new androids for Dragon Ball Super. Subtitle, Chapter 92, who gives a fuck? We watched this stuff on a movie screen last year, and you already knew what was going to happen, so why are we doing this again? So the first two chapters of this movie retelling have covered approximately 20 minutes of the film in each of the chapters. Now, the total runtime of Dragon Ball Superhero, because you can't forget to say the cool superhero, is 100. It's an hour and 40 minutes, excuse me. So 100 minutes in total. So by that math, we've done the first 40 minutes of the movie. We probably have another 3, maybe 4 chapters if they really build out some of this Goku Broly stuff, if they show us a little bit more of a battle between Gohan and Cell. At the current pace, maybe we'll be done with the retelling of the movie by the end of August. I really think that it's going to be more like maybe the end of the year, though. They can take their time with this if they want. And I think they will, because they don't give a fuck, because they know that we'll buy it. So I'll tell you what happens in the chapter in a minute. Some of the Patreon members might be a little confused right now, because there was a different episode up on the Patreon this week. Rayshawn visited us here in Rhode Island last week. So I got to get together with him, Vape and Mike Norm, and Victor P3O Roman came and hang out with us as well. And we did the history of Trunks, just like a watch along while we all, smoked, drank, ordered Chinese food, hung out for the night. It was a really good time, man. But the watch along sound is there, and we did a brief podcast afterwards. And I think Patreon members were expecting to hear that today. It's a lot to edit. So I'm working on that. I'll tell you a little bit more about the Rayshawn stuff in a minute, but why this chapter doesn't matter. That's what I wrote down in the first line of my notes here. It doesn't matter, man. We already seen it. All right. It's mostly just a fight between Piccolo and Gamma 2. And I will say, one thing Toriara Taro, one thing Toyotaro is at least making the attempt at is giving the characters a little bit more, we'll say meaningful dialogue or like exploratory, it seems like it gives a little bit more concrete like reasoning or thought process behind what's going on, and not just this battle, but basically anywhere. Toyotaro has been doing a good job with that. I'll give him that. It's obviously not his decision to remake these movies into chapters, I don't think. But he's just trying to make the best of what he's dealing with, right? But the dialogue in this fight between Piccolo and Gamma 2, much more fun. Gamma 2, generally speaking, I don't know, man. Like, he is kind of cocky and, like, goofy and stuff in the film. But there are moments in this chapter where, I don't know, he just seems kind of mean. Or, like, he's got maybe a little bit of an inferiority complex. Not inferiority complex, that's not right. I don't know. In the film, I just remember thinking like Gamma 1's the serious one, Gamma 2's the goofy one. And there's a interaction between the two Gammas actually. Once, the Piccolo fight is wrapped up, Piccolo chases him back to the Red Ribbon secret base, gets in the 94 costume and sneak, and then finds out about Cell Max and all that. There's a little interaction between the two Gammas there, where Gamma 2's like, bite me. You weren't there. You saw what happened, but don't worry about it. Piccolo's definitely dead. Bite me. I don't know. I just thought it's interesting. Another thing they did that kind of helps with certain explanations or whatever is Hito and Magenta going back and forth about Cell Max. And like, I think the, what's the word? The motivation for Hito was sort of like presented well in the movie. Like he loves superheroes. He makes these new androids. He's not really so interested in Cell Max because he's so sold on the idea of what his new Gamma androids can do. But I don't know. I think they do a better job with this here. I'm seriously just trying to look for some positive in what otherwise is just a waste of time. Dragon Ball's been a waste of fucking time so far this year in 2023, and it's I don't want to say infuriating. It's not infuriating. It's not the end of the fucking world or anything, but like it's definitely annoying. It's disheartening for them to know that they could just coast, and by them I mean Toei and Shueisha and the people who make Dragon Ball. They can just give us recycled stuff and they're totally fine with it. And I don't know. I guess I get it from like a business perspective, whatever. These dumb kids are going to, eat it up. But you got more than just dumb kids. You got some dumb adults in your fan base now, too, man. We grew up with this shit. And it's been a little annoying to go. As many problems as I had with the granola arc, at least it was a new story and it was fun to watch month to month because what's going to happen in that story specifically? It's just a lot of then this guy punches that guy, then that guy punches this guy. Then there's a different guy they have to punch, and they all take turns punching him. That was granola, but at least it was something I hadn't watched on a movie screen last year. And I don't know, man. They didn't do this shit. They did it with the first two films, meaning the first two super films. And by the super films, I mean the Z films, 14 and 15, or 14 and 15, Battle of Gods and Turn of Frieza, or whatever the fuck. They did like a brief retelling in the manga there. They didn't for Broly. It was one big splash page indicating that the battle happened. You know what happened. Let's go to the next thing. And then they retell Superhero, which I don't know, man. A lot of people, Superhero itself was a polarizing movie because it comes on the heels of like one, either the Tournament of Power or no, not the Tournament of Power, excuse me. One either comes on the heels of like Broly or whatever's going on in the manga. Obviously, it's written in a way where it comes on the heels of Broly, but it's implied those other things happened. But I'm not getting into that whole discussion today. The point is, Superhero in and of itself was kind of a polarizing movie because the focus is on Gohan and Piccolo, mostly Piccolo. This is like a 70% Piccolo movie, which I think is fun, but it was fun to watch. I want to get back to the story, like the main story. Like I want to see what's going on with Broly and Goku and Vegeta and how they're getting ready for Black Frieza and all that. And to just take, it's now been 2 months, and again, it could be upwards of another 3 months, best case scenario. More realistically, it could be like another 5 or 6 months. It's fucking lame, dogs. This is like the least invested I've felt in Dragon Ball in a long, long time. I just read the chapter last night. It's been out for a week. Because, again, I already read it on the TV screen with my eyes and my ear holes. Again, 92, okay, new androids. Somebody's going to go through like the 20-minute thing. I don't know what that means for the next 20 minutes of the movie. The one thing that gives me a brief glimmer of hope is the way that this chapter wraps up with the battle between Goku and Broly. A lot of people imply or are hopeful that it's implied that they will fight more in the next chapter. It seems like they will. Broly's like, all right, okay, Son Goku, come at me. It's like the last panel of the chapter. Calls him Son Goku, by the way, which I guess is cool, but he told you to call him Kakarot at the end of the movie, dog. Like, you're straight up disrespecting his wishes. Hopefully we got some Broly and Goku action in the next chapter. I think they're probably going to stick by that whole you need to control your rage and your power stuff, so we might not see transformations at all. I think maybe they'll just stay in their base forms. We'll see if the Goku Vegeta fight happens. I imagine it has to, as like a continuous B plot to this film or these chapters over the next few months. I don't know. I think I'm just holding out some hope for a more in-depth, maybe Goku and Broly fight training session, whatever you want to call it, and let that be something that again, because that's like the only thing that could maybe potentially push the story forward. And by the story, I mean the greater story of why in the hell are these guys training together? Oh, because we just met Black Frieza at the end of the last arc. And I don't know. I hope they talk about it a little bit. I think that's why I'm probably mostly psyched to see more stuff about or around Broly, Goku, Vegeta, and what's going on there right now. So That's chapter 92. That's like less than 10 minutes, man. Um, I don't know, man. I just, again, just disrespectful to us. Like, and I heard maybe friend of the show, Danny Geekdom, might have had a similar rant. I didn't listen to it. I saw him post it on his Facebook page the other day, and I think I liked the post itself because I knew exactly what he meant by the title of it. Like, this is such bullshit that Toei, Shueisha, all the Dragon Ball people are putting us through right now. Like, the hype for the series is, and it's not. I was kind of happy to see that he made that. Again, I didn't listen to it. I don't know all the reasons, but I think I know the situation well enough and him well enough to know what it was that he was going to freak out about and why he was going to yell about this shit. It makes me feel a little bit better. I'm not the only person out there who's like suddenly disengaged from Dragon Ball. Honestly, that shit's reflected in the numbers. The last few episodes since the end of the prequel arc of Goten and Trunks, numbers have been down. I mean, like 50% down. That's a big drop. I think people are just less interested in trying to keep up because there's nothing to keep up with, man. The story that we're watching play out, we already watched in a fucking movie. How in the fuck did you guys think this was a good idea? Ugh. Very, very frustrating. Speaking of geekdom, I had a couple of listeners to the show, reach out this week and make me aware of some geekdom drama. And like, I'd like to believe that I'm beyond like 2019 Kyle v geekdom stuff where I had this whole thing in my head about why we didn't like each other or what he may or may not have said or did about something I was working on, whatever. It's a long, stupid story. He and I are fine now. He came on the show last year. We had a great conversation. Kid knows his shit when it comes to Dragon Ball. And he cares a lot about it. And he's obviously a fan for the right reasons and all that stuff. Excellent content creator, blah, blah, blah. The stuff that people sent over to me, I kind of accidentally was aware of it anyway, because I checked Twitter earlier in the day, and then a couple people sent it to me later in the day. Said, hey, did you see this stuff? And like, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the details of it, because seriously, who gives a shit? It's not my story to tell. It's not my beef. And honestly, there's some other stuff in there that makes me go, ooh, this is something I don't want to talk about. That's weird and, not a good look and potentially illegal. So all that being said, my comment, I guess, because people were curious what I had to say about it, is he's a good content creator when it comes to Dragon Ball. When it comes to social media, he is like one of the easiest goated people. Goated, not like greatest of all time did, which is why I fucking hate that term goated. But like goated meaning like easily tricked into Twitter beef. He's very easy to upset on social media. And he just gets real vindictive about it. Like he has like over 800,000 subscribers on YouTube, I think. He's probably like, if not the top, among the top of people who make Dragon Ball content. He's like, you can't get much more successful making Dragon Ball content than Danny has already gotten, okay? But these kids come to him and try to talk some shit and see if they can get a rise out of him, and it usually works. And he just goes on this stuff about how people aren't, people are toxic and they're not real fans, or I don't know. I have people come at me like every once in a great while. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody say some shitty thing about me. And that might be like once or twice on a busy year, maybe like 4 times in a year. Danny has that happen. Those 4 people, those 4 shitty comments are all made about him within, I don't know, every 30 seconds. And that's not to say like he's shitty or whatever, but I'm trying to say that he has a way wider reach than most of us will ever hope to have. He gets a lot of hate, so I can't exactly put myself in his shoes when it comes to the volume of shit that gets thrown his way by kids who are just looking for some internet notoriety. But I'd like to think that if I did, I would have the semblance of mind to just be like, what does this gain? Fighting with this person, what does this benefit? What does this net me? What am I going to do this for? Does this make any sense for my image, for my business? He's like a real serious business minded dude. Like talks about a lot of investments in stocks. Like again, I'm friends with him on Facebook, so I see other shit that he talks about outside of just Dragon Ball YouTube videos. I don't even watch his YouTube videos. I know him more as a person than I do as a content creator these days. I don't know, man. It's just easy. I don't want to say easily triggered snowflake. That's not the right word, but he definitely feels like he needs to step up and defend his own honor or whatever when somebody comes at him. And in reality, man, it's like, dog, what are you defending? Like every time you step into the mud with some fucking chud 15-year-old kid on Twitter who doesn't have anything to do that day, anytime you get in a ring with somebody like that, regardless of what the insult is, whether it be, you know, he's a bad dude who sent 40 of his Discord followers to like harass me, which is, you know, a piece of one of the allegations here. So like other stuff like being creepy toward, you know, maybe women. I don't know about that fully. I refuse to look into all the details of it. I just caught up quickly on a Twitter thread. My point is, whenever you get in the ring, so to speak, with somebody who's trying to talk shit about you, you automatically bring them down to your level. Especially when like you're a top tier YouTuber, especially in the space, and it's some dude who does like HD upscales of Dragon Ball video game images. Like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're not helping. You know, anything with your own like personal image, I guess, is, I don't know. What I will say is that back before me and him made nice, this was I've said this about him for years. And honestly, I don't know. I can't listen to the interview with me and Geekdom because I feel like it's I don't know. I feel like it's not my best work, but I kind of talked to him a little bit about this. I think it comes out in the final recording. Does it? Did we talk about it off mic? I don't know. But in that conversation, when we recorded that day, we talked for almost 3 hours that day in total. And we talked about how, you know, he's been a little less than mature sometimes on social media. I felt like that was something I had to ask him when we talked. And I'm glad I did, because he seemed to have some self-awareness about it and reflected on it a little bit. But apparently he's still out there doing the same stuff. And I don't know. I guess the allegations here get a little bit more serious than typical, you know, oh, you said Super would be back in 19, you know, kind of stuff that he's used to. So maybe that, you know, got him more upset than usual. And I don't know, man. I don't know the details of the whole situation. I know enough to be like, you know, aware that something is happening and that he's reacting in a way that he's been reacting to things for a long time. And, you know, I just hope that if he should hear this, I don't think he listens to the show. We do have a lot of similar takes. I'll say that. So like sometimes I do wonder if like, you know, he checks it out every once in a while, but I would just say, Danny, who cares, man? You already won. You've won all of this. You won Dragon Ball, dog. The only person who won Dragon Ball harder than you is Akira Toriyama. And I mean that with respect. You're very successful and make a lot of money. Stooping to these kids' levels. It's not worth your time, and it honestly just takes away from the stuff that you've built, dude. So, from me to you, that's my advice. Fuck them little kids. Oh, that sounded weird given the context. Forget about those little kids. So, that's it pretty much for the episode of Super Dope this week. Banging 92, some geekdom drama. I'll tell you, man, it's been a really long week for me because last weekend was just so much fun. So if you don't know, if you're not on the Patreon, patreon.com/Dragon Ball Super Dope, there's the episode I mentioned up there now of the History of Trunks watch along, the History of Trunks watch along commentary, and then the podcast afterwards with me and Rayshawn and Mike Norm and Victor. It was fun, man. So let me just give you like the details of how the weekend played out and why it was so goddamn breakneck, right? I picked Rayshawn up at like midnight on 420 going into 421. That was Thursday. His plane got delayed. Pick him up. We go get him checked into the hotel. We hang out for a couple hours. I go home. We go for breakfast in the morning. I have to go to work for a couple hours for a couple meetings. Oh, I have a job. And then I get out and we, go do this podcast with Mike and Victor, running around, grabbing food and booze and stuff, just like getting ready for a party, basically, like an old super dope time. So that was fun. It was awesome to hang out with the boys. Rayshawn in person is pretty much exactly what I expected. Like, he's exactly the same as he is in person, as he is through a computer screen, the last 2 years. The only thing that was different that I did not expect about Rayshawn was that he drinks a lot of fruit punch. Dude loves fruit punch. Asked for fruit punch everywhere we went. Nobody had any fucking fruit punch. So we'd get a Sprite instead. And I'd be like, man, I've been drinking a lot of pop this weekend. I'm like, bitch, we call it soda here. Anyway, it's not a big deal. Hanging out with Rayshawn it ended up being like 2 full days pretty much. It was the best, man. Friday night, we did the Super Dope podcast. Saturday, we woke up, went out, got some brunch, lunch, I forget. Then we met up with Kelly, and the three of us hung out in the hotel room and just made episodes of the Advice podcast. We made 2 in-person episodes. Those will be out in a few weeks. New episodes of the Advice podcast are currently dropping every Friday. We just came back last week. Episode 2 of season 2 actually just dropped this Friday morning. So go check out the Advice Pod if you have checked it out in the past. It's back. If you haven't checked it out in the past, there's a bunch of old episodes. Go check it out. I think it's the most fun podcast that we make right now, especially with this lame ass shit Dragon Ball's doing to us. But we did 3 podcasts in 2 days. Went out to a bunch of different restaurants. Showed them around a little bit. Made him try some Rhode Island food and all that stuff. And I had to bring him back to the airport on Sunday morning. And I knew it was going to be early. I was like, oh, all right, I got to get you to the airport for like 7. That's not awful, but, I can make that happen. No, we were incorrect. His flight was at 7, which meant that he had to be at the airport at 5 a.m. on Sunday, which meant I had to wake up at like 3:45 to get ready to go drive him back to the airport. So 2-3 days of just nonstop content, eating, smoking, hanging. And then that punctuated with the early airplane, man. I haven't recovered since. And then I went back to work and worked a full week. Still making all the podcasts. I played last night, music for the first time in 4 months. This is just becoming like a dump on you guys, huh? Not like a shitty dump, but like this is what's up with my life dump. So sorry about that, but goddamn dog, I'm tired. You know how I do. All right, I'm done. I'm literally just like trying to fill time now. We're almost at 25 minutes, 23-ish. Good for me. If you want to hear the next episode of Super Dope, the History of Trunks episode is up there now. So much fun. I want to do live shit like that more often. And it was fun having Mike, dude. Mike and Rayshawn hit it off so hard. Like, Mike is like pretty affable dude. Like, he gets along with most people if he likes them, or like doesn't hate them. He hates you, that's it. But he gets along with pretty much everybody. But Mike was just on fire, man. And he's been listening to a lot of podcasts lately. I think he's been like low-key hitting that he wants to start making more podcasts again. Little does he know it's going to be about Dragon Ball. But I don't know. It's fun to have all my friends meet each other. And then Victor came to hang out too. Like, see, that's what happens, baby. You join the Patreon, all of a sudden you're hanging out, eating Chinese food and shit. Victor brought his Japanese whiskey with him and made me take a shot of it at the end of the night. And, whew, shit burned. My heart felt like it was on fire. And I like whiskey, but I guess the Japanese whiskey don't like me. All right, so that's Super Dope. Quick one. This technically counts as a manga review somehow. Make sure you rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please review us there. Apple Podcasts especially. Written reviews are the nicest thing yous can do's for a podcaster. Or just the 5 stars on Spotify helps as well. YouTube, you can subscribe to the YouTube. Go support on Patreon. Get that Future Trunks episode. It's probably like close to 2 hours worth of sound, so it's a good time. And I'll see you next week, maybe. I don't know. Honestly, the tricky part about that Future Trunk sound for me, some inside baseball shit, but the tricky part about that for me is the commentary is so good and so fun that it's just going to be Patreon, the whole 45-minute commentary, but there are some little pieces in there that I need to clip out and figure out how to use in the actual public cut next week. Like Rayshawn and Victor doing dubs, because we had the Washington subs. So like there's a scene where like 17 and 18 are yelling at each other, and Victor and Rayshawn are just reading the lines back and forth at one another poorly. So goddamn funny. So many good times, dude. I had a blast last week. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Victor. Shout out to Mike Norm. Love you guys. Yeah, let's make some more fun content, man. All right. Okay. Great. It's what? It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning. My brain is not in super dope mode. So if this is a weird episode for you, good. Now listen to me struggle, try to figure out how to end this shit with a song. With a song in my heart and a pep in my step. No, that was not the right song. Da 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 da. Dude, that definitely was not the right song. That was. Soup it up.